Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a speaker this evening. His biography is in the notebook behind the introduction tab. And I looked at that and said, oh, the heck with that. I'm not reading that junk. I'm going to tell you what I really know about this guy. First, I'm going to have to say something about myself. You don't know how hard it was for me in the airport here in Kansas City to walk up and introduce myself to a guy wearing a cat onesie. That would be him. Paul and his buddy John were Kansas City Royals Fan of the Year in the year 2016 as the Catsuit Guys. And for those of you here in Kansas City, you may have seen them on commercials and other things, both for the Royals and the Chiefs and the furniture company and lots of different things. Anyway, Paul had decided to somewhat leave the catsuit in the dark, but we followed up. We've done some wonderful fundraising events together because Paul is, among other things, the president of the board of Noah's Bandage Project, which is to help eradicate childhood cancer. Great organization here in town. Paul's a great guy. We did a podcast in December last year that's available on YouTube. So if you want to go back and look at that. And anyway, we talked earlier about empathy being a key part of what this is all about. Well, Paul's going to talk to you about empathy, which is a dramatic part of his presentation. I guess the other thing is to show you that we believe in fun and we're a bit empathetic. Everybody, you got something that you want to show Paul?
No, Shadows! I saw you let the cat out of the bag.
Noses on.
I love it.
So, and by the way, we have something else for you too.
Goodness, what is this? What? I didn't know I was getting gifts.
Is it here?
The box.
Oh, this isn't more cold, is it?
Yeah.
Cute. You guys did a bandage job?
It's a bandage drive. So, thank you all for helping support his charity as well. So, with that, I'm going to let Paul, and the funny thing is, he and John were Royals Fan of the Year in 2016. Our son was Royals Fan of the Year in 2017. So, we've got all kinds of connections.
Right.
So anyway, with that.
Thank you, sir. John, not myself. I love that.
The one-hand clap.
The one-handed clap. I love it. I think, do I need to be turned on somehow?
Oh, we don't want to
Now I am. Hear me now? Awesome. Hey-o! 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 Nice! What a great group!
Nice. What a great group.
Hey, I think this thing's got an echo.
Can I hear a ho? Ho! How about a ho ho? Ho! How about a ho ho ho? What does that spell?
Amazing. So, a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman celebrated a birthday. He unfortunately is no longer with us to be able to celebrate his birthday, but he is one of the greatest performers of our generation. And regardless of how you feel, your personal beliefs or whatever, I mean, this gentleman, when he got in front of an audience, he was captivated. Couple of weeks ago, this gentleman passed. He was the lead singer for a pretty significant band. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Nicely done. What size do you wear, sir?
Large.
Large? That's no Santa size, my friend. I can't discriminate against that. My man had a large shirt coming your way. Fit Santa. Fit Santa. I love it. What's your name, sir? What is your name?
Jack.
Jack, Paul Long, it's a pleasure to meet you, my friend. It was Freddie Mercury's birthday a couple of weeks ago. And so right before I go on stage, I'm in Pennsylvania doing a gig for Uline Shipping. I'm watching Twitter and I see that it's his birthday, and I'm just strolling through and I see these videos from Live Aid. And if you've ever had the opportunity to watch Bohemian Rhapsody, or you're blessed enough to actually see Live Aid live, he does that crowd interaction. And that takes a lot of guts, a lot of risk. And I thought to myself when I was watching that, I want to try that. I want to see if the audience buys it. Regardless of whether they did or didn't, what I know is I'm going to be me, authentically me, 100% of the time. And I'm going to have a great time doing it. So as such, I just wanted to level set expectations and let you know that Freddie Mercury is one of the greatest performers of our generation. You're not getting yourself into that tonight. I am not one of the greatest performers of your generation, but I promise two things. The first thing I promise you is we're going to have some fun. You guys want to have some fun? Say yes.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it, be about it. Everybody please stand up if you're able. I want you to find 3 people in this room that aren't right next to you, that aren't at your table. I just want you to give a little fist bump and tell them, let's make tonight fun. Go now.
Hey, buddy. There you go.
4 is the next one, brother. Hey, hold on just 1 second. Got something for you, all right? Double X. Phase it out, my friend. And what people are.
Rock.
Yeah. Have a seat. Once you got your 3, only Dave gave me a fist bump. Now the one literally paid to create some fun for you guys. Got one. That was a sympathy. That was a sympathy one. So, I got 2 beautiful children at home, 3 and 6, traveling every single week. And I rarely get the opportunity throughout the week to be home with them. And so when John reached out to me and he said, hey, I got this amazing gig that I want you to be a part of, I thought to myself, well, when is it? It's in the evening. I said, man, if I'm going to do this, first of all, I got to be around a group that's deserving. And when I think about what you do, both the wives of you and the Santas in this room, I can't help but admire your hearts, your thoughtfulness, and the kindness that you all share. And so first of all, John, thank you for the opportunity to celebrate this fine group of people. So I said, yes, check that box. Second box I had to check is, yes, I want to have some fun. Is this group willing to have some fun? He said, without a doubt. You guys have already proven it. I heard you guys almost got kicked out of the restaurant last time. The third thing I told him that I have to do, and this is with every single group, is it is a personal mission of mine to leave every single audience with something tactical that you could take away. Because the speakers that have resonated with me throughout the years aren't just individuals that provided me a memorable experience, or made me laugh, or made me think, or made me even cry potentially. They're individuals that gave me something that I could take away and apply in my life. So tonight we're going to have some fun. And I'm going to leave you some relevant information that you guys can take back to your respective day jobs, night jobs, retirees, whatever you're into, personal relationships, and apply it to improve your quality of life. Does that sound good? You guys on board?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. I'm going to start somewhat unconventionally. I'm going to provide you the answer to this question that I'm going to ask. The answer is going to be provided to you in advance of the easiest quiz you've ever taken in your whole entire life. The answer to my question is it's all good. Again, the answer to my question, it's all good. So without further ado, what's good, everybody?
It's all good.
That's right, baby. It is all good. By a show of hands, who here has ever had a bad day? We've all had bad days, right? The question to me isn't whether bad days are happening or going to happen. It's what do we do to get through them when they do, right? And one of the reasons why I admire you so much is I do a ton of work in the medical field. And one of the real significant things going on in the medical field, I think will resonate with you guys, especially amongst nurses and doctors, is something called compassion fatigue. And of course, what compassion fatigue means is it's just that you see so much heartache. You see so many kids, so many people going through the struggle that at times you become numb to it. You hear the same stories, you hear the same heartache, and over time, it hits a little bit less hard, if that makes any sense. And then what happens is as Santa or as nurses, as doctors, whoever it is is going through this compassion feed, you go home and you're alone and you start to feel guilty. You feel guilty that you don't have that same level of compassion or feeling or emotion as you once did when you see these terrible things. So to me, I believe that at the root of everything that we're trying to accomplish, if you focus more on what's good and what is working in life as opposed to what's not, then life can get a little bit easier. And these trials and tribulations and challenges and bad days that you all raise your hands on, they'll become fewer and far between because you're not hypersensitive to them anymore. At the root of it all, it starts with having fun. So, by a show of hands here, who feels like you can afford to have a little more fun in life? If your hand isn't up right now, believe me, you can afford to have a little more fun in life. So, Richard Branson once said that fun is one of the most important yet underrated ingredients in any successful venture. He said, if you're not having fun, it's probably time to call it quits and try something new. Now I know that you guys have a ton of fun as Santas, am I right or wrong? Yeah. But what I also know is sometimes the same things that lift you up can also tear you down. And there are times where you go out, and John, you and I were just talking about leaving your family on Christmas Eve, and how guilty you felt, and seeing the pictures on Facebook and social media of your family celebrating and decorating, and you were out with some other family. And so you gave that up for the sake of your own family, which I admire about you, my friend. But times like that, it's not as fun as it once was, right? And so my challenge to you is, how do we make as much as we can in this world fun? And when I say fun, I'm not talking about being insane, silly, or stupid. I'm talking about whatever you do for fun, whatever makes you smile, do more of that than the stuff that tears you down. I call that a concept called Fundamism. Again, it's called Fundamism. What is it called? Fundamism. Simply put, they're the fundamentals of a fun and optimistic lifestyle. If it's difficult to say, it's because I made it up. I'm a marketing genius. I'm not, because nobody can say it correctly. So you, sir, arms crossed, extremely open to this discussion. How are you, sir? I'm just joking with you. Paul Long, pleasure to meet you.
It's really awesome to see your bubbly face.
I appreciate it. Gary, is that right?
Absolutely.
You weren't messing with me and wore a different name tag? Wouldn't that be fun? Gary, you've had a stressful day, a stressful week, a stressful year. You want to get out of your head and focus on something that makes you smile. What do you do for fun, sir?
Doesn't bother you yet.
Nothing bothers you. No?
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what is something that you do for fun?
I think I like to get back into character, remember some of the good times that I've had. And
Okay.
sometimes those are the toughest times that you've had to put a fun fish.
That's absolutely right. So what I heard him say is he likes to get back into character. And he likes to think about the memories that were created as that character and the joy that you help bring others. Is that accurate? My man, thank you very much for sharing. I got a gift for you. And that gift, don't you move, I'm going to give it to you right now. This is actually a gift that all of you guys will walk away with because John was nice enough to get them for all of you. It's this book. It's called Fundamism, Connecting to Life Through Fun. And the foreword right there was written by our very own Travis Kelsey of the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you go, my friend. Thank you very much. You may have a beautiful granddaughter. You are, is Kevin's wife? Are you Kevin's wife? It's a pleasure to meet you. How do you live with that mustache? I love it too. I mean, it stuck out like a sore thumb. I gratitude it immediately. So what do you do for fun? You sew. And what do you enjoy about sewing?
Creating.
You're creating. So you're a creator. I love that. Being a creative is so magnificent to me. Sometimes I'll watch stand-up comedy, and I won't even listen for the punchlines. I just get so lost in the way that people deliver their content or interact with folks or their deliberate pauses or cadences that I can't help but get lost in their creativity. So I admire that a great deal. Is it Teresa? Tressa. Paul Long. Pleasure to meet you. How many of you guys enjoy movies? Enjoy movies? I had the opportunity, we got a 3 and a 6-year-old at home. I had the opportunity to go watch It 2 the other night. I'm guessing that's not the ideal movie genre for Santas. Well, I love horror movies. And I'm I'm not going to talk to you about the movie itself, but what I am going to talk to you about is the fact that, have you ever loved something so much, and then for one reason or the other, you haven't experienced it in a long time like you used to? You know what I mean? Like, for example, maybe getting on the Santa costume today isn't the same as it was 20 years ago, right? I would argue that horror movies today are not the same as they were 20 years ago, right? So my point is, I love the horror genre. My wife hates it. She'll never watch a movie with me. Side note, she can never stay awake through any movie, so it really doesn't matter, right? So ultimately, I get the opportunity. I'm up in Nebraska by myself. I go watch this movie. And there's a time where I literally tear up. And the reason why I'm tearing up is in this moment, I'm watching the cinematography and the way that this story was written. And I think to myself, this is the best horror movie I've ever seen. And the fact that I haven't seen a good horror movie in 20, 30 years, all of a sudden, I'm overcome with emotion and goodness. See, to me, that's a fundamental. Getting back to something that gives me strength, whether it's putting on your suit and just remembering some of the grateful times you had. Maybe it's sewing, maybe it's watching a movie. You, sir, what do you do for fun?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
I can't wait to hear.
Well, I'm retired.
You are retired.
And they say do what you love most in retirement.
What is it?
I hang out with children.
I love hanging out. So what do you do with kids that makes it so joyous for you? What do you enjoy about that, right?
I'd be a kid.
You're a giant kid at heart.
I'm a kid.
I love that.
I gave up trying to grow up.
Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. So my wife will tell me all the time, she says, Paul, there's a party in your head every single day. The only question is whether I'm invited. I too am a giant kid. I'm a giant kid. I love laughter. Mark Twain once said, humor is the great thing, the saving thing. Once it crops up, all of our irritations and resentments slip away and a sunny spirit takes their place. I believe that when you can generate laughter, when you can make somebody smile, when you find their joy, there is no better feeling in the whole entire world. And you guys get to feel that on a regular basis. That's your fundamental. That's what you do for fun. Now again, if that's the only thing that you do for fun, then you could get lost when times are challenging. If indeed you're dealing with that compassion fatigue, or if you're going through something challenging at home, maybe that Santa suit brings up a bad memory for you. So ultimately, you have to figure out multiple things that you do for fun. Now, let me give you an example. So, we had this opportunity to do this podcast. John, we had a blast, did we not? I actually got to dress up like an elf. I sat on your lap. We did it in character. And so I was your elf and you were Santa, and we just talked about the story of Christmas and all kinds of things. It was absolutely amazing, right? The title of it was Cookies Limit 2. Is that right? That's right. Because you told a story of how your wife put you on a cookie diet. Or a non-cookie diet, rather, should I say. Side note, all the cookies were gone. John, what happened?
It's obviously not working, yeah.
So that's not true. Listen, we had the opportunity to do this podcast. I've had some really amazing opportunities to meet just genuine, awesome people. One of whom was a former female mayor of Kansas City, Kay Barnes. But one of my favorite interviews was the gentleman that wrote the foreword of that book, a gentleman by the name of Travis Kelsey. And the reason why I love Travis so much is he's a lot like Ray. He's just a big kid all the time. And people here locally sometimes get frustrated with Travis because he'll have these stupid penalties. Years ago, he got a flag on him. And he picks up the flag from the referee and he throws it into the stands. And I remember there's a lot of Kansas City, regardless of whether you like football or sports or whatever, there's a lot of Kansas City folks that get mad at him. They say, gosh darn it, Travis, you gotta dial it down a little bit. But I'm not one of those guys. Because that is what makes him authentic. He's always that way. He is always playing. He's always a child. He lives his true, authentic self. So why would I inhibit that when he lets his emotion get the best out of him? See, he's always living in a fun manner. But I got the opportunity to interview him on this podcast, and I said, hey, Travis, what was the most challenging moment you've ever been through in life? He said, Paul, from when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I always knew that I was going to be a professional athlete. He said, I told my mom, you're not going to have to worry about a thing. Then I got to the University of Cincinnati, and I got hurt. and I had a medically red shirt, which means that I could still practice football with the team, but I couldn't play in games. I couldn't play the sport that I love. He said I lost a little piece of myself. I started drinking every single night. He said I told my coach some things that I probably shouldn't have, and as a result, I got suspended from the game that I loved for 365 days. He said, Paul, I thought my dream had died. So I said, well, Travis, what did you do in that moment to get through that? Because that's what we're talking about. It's not whether the challenge is going to happen. It's your fundamental. It's fundamism. It's what do you do to get through them when they do? And this was his response.
What helped you get through that moment? That's what I call fundamism. What are the things that you did to get out of that negative space?
Well, the first thing I did was I found a new routine.
Okay.
That is the biggest thing. I mean, I don't necessarily, it was never the people I was around. It was always my decision making. So that's the first thing you have to do is, own it.
Yep.
Own it. Whatever it is that you're going through, own it. If it isn't, even if it isn't under your control, the only power you have in this world is making a decision.
You.
That is it.
Yes.
There's always going to be someone stronger than you. There's always going to be someone more powerful, faster, more agile in terms of athletics. But even outside of athletics in the business world, there's always going to be someone with that much more.
Yeah, smarter, tenacity, whatever it may be.
Whatever it is, that's their characteristics. But nobody has more power than you than when you make a decision.
Travis said a couple of things there that really resonated with me, but this isn't about me, it's about you. What did he say to you that spoke to you? When he was going through the struggle, what did he say helped him?
Own it.
Own it.
He said own it, right? It wasn't the people that I was around, it wasn't the situations I was in, it was me. Same thing goes for us and what we do. You guys are going to see and deal with a lot of heartache, right? You see it every single day. Maybe you might have a spat with your loved one. Maybe you lose a piece of yourself when you retire because your whole life was defined by work and now you don't know what to do with yourself anymore, right? I know what I'm going to do. Exactly. I'm going to be like Greg. But what I will tell you is there's nothing more powerful in this world than you when you decide to make a decision. The second thing he said is, when I got into a routine, it was really, really helpful for me. Specifically, I know I have a brother that struggles with anxiety and depression. And when he's at his worst, mentally, on the weekends, what he'll do is he'll pull the covers over his head and he'll sleep for hours and hours and hours on it. He won't get out of bed. And I'll say to him, I'll say, Chris, why don't you get out? Why don't you go do something? What do you do for fun? And he'll say, oh, Paul, sometimes I'll look at my bank account and there'll be $13.12 left in it. And there's 6 days left in the paid cycle. What do you say? What do you think I could do for fun for that? I say to him, Chris, there's so many things that you could do. You have 3 beautiful, amazing children. You have a family that loves you. You have a decent job. You got a roof over your head. What do you do for fun? There's a number of different things you do. You know what I do? I get down on the floor and I play with my kids. I read them an amazing book. We make up stories. And you know what's fun is, I remove myself sometimes from the situation. I'm sitting with my son, Brennan, at night, and I'll say, hey, Brennan, tell me a story. He's 3. And he'll say, I don't know. I said, well, I'll start it for you. Who's in this story, Brennan? And he'll say, Daddy and a trash man. Perfect. Daddy and a trash man are walking down the street. What do they get into? What happens? Well, they go to the park. Well, what happens at the park? I'm literally just asking him questions, and this 3-year-old boy is writing a story. But most importantly, he's writing a memory. He's writing something fun. He's getting himself out of whatever mental space he's in, and he's focused on being creative, right? See, that's a fundamental. Getting back to whatever makes you whole. Maybe it's getting outside. How many of you guys enjoy going outside? Whatever that does to you, the vitamin D or E, what is that, the sunlight? D, right? Yeah. I'm not very smart, that's why I'm a speaker. But getting outside, going on a walk, maybe it's, indulging in some greenery or farming or hunting or whatever it is you're into, getting outside. Sometimes that's helpful. Maybe it's putting a new spin on things that you do every single day. Now, somebody told me recently that one of their challenges to creating more fun in life is monotony. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. like Groundhog Day. Take, for example, let's say you walk into the mall, you walk into a function, and what do we do every single time we walk in? Ho, ho, ho! And we wave to everybody, right? We don't do that. What do we do? What do we do?
Just walk in and wave, I don't do the whole.
Okay, I love it. So you're off. What's your name, sir?
Yeah, Lloyd.
Lloyd, are you sure? It seemed like you made it up. Is it June or Lloyd? You made up Lloyd. I love it. That's fun. Lloyd, June, whatever the heck you like to call yourself today, thank you very much. I appreciate
I
it.
could have looked at everybody else and did.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Aren't you special?
So you know what happens though is we get into this routine. And I'll tell you what I mean. I'll give you more explicit examples, but we wave, right? We wave to folks. Hey, how's it going? When was the last time you saw Santa hit somebody with some of the finger guns? Hey, been a bit, huh? Never happened.
Fall off the fire truck.
You fall off a fire truck. Yes. That's a new spin. You walk in. What if you did one of these? You ever seen Santa skip? Now, if I was a kid,
You don't want to see this.
wrong. I do want to see it, Kevin. Because as a kid, if I saw Santa skip, that would provide me a memorable moment. Would it not? You're like, oh man, what got into Santa today?
Well, I can tell you that.
Oh, the sauce, right? That's right. You know what I find though is we do these things over and over and over and over and over again. We have the same conversations over and over and over and over again. What do we talk about like clockwork? Every time we're out, we're at a conference, we're with our family. First thing we typically talk about is work, right? We talk about our roles as Santa, what we do, or the books that we got out here. We talk about our role. We talk about work. Then we transition to something far more magnificent and beautiful. We talk about family, right? Then, push comes to shove, the last topic that comes up like clockwork is the weather. Work, weather, and family. These are the conversations that we have like clockwork. And as such, people are on cruise control in our interactions with them. Because the thought is that nobody's really making us think anymore. We're talking about the same thing. Matter of fact, there's so many times in a day where people will ask you, how's it going? We're not even present. I'm guessing that there's been times in your life where you've asked somebody, how's it going? And you're 10 feet away and they say, not so good. And you're like, they'll figure it out. But oftentimes we're not present, right? And so we talk about empathy and we talk about relationships. What we're going to talk about tonight is how to ask questions that drive meaningful interactions. How do you put a new spin on the things that you do every single day that can generate a little more fun? What's something that you do every single day, whether it's in your role as Santa or in your personal life? What's something you do every single day? Drop something on me.
Brush my teeth.
Brush your teeth, Greg. That's a perfect one, right? You ever try to brush your teeth with the opposite hand? That's challenging. That's a new spin. And it forces you to think, right? It gets you out of whatever proverbial comfort zone you're in, and it allows you to stretch yourself. See, some of you guys are listening to what I'm saying right now, and you're like, I would never skip. That is not me. I'm not asking you to be somebody that you're not. But what I am asking you to do is if you ever want to provide more joy, fun, and fulfillment to yourself or to those around you, then sometimes you got to try new things. Specifically, if you ever think about all the things that you love in this world that you weren't born to love, because I believe that we're all born with love in our hearts, specifically for our families, right? But all these things that we have grown to love, putting on the Santa suit, double stuffed Oreos, making people laugh, all these things are something that at one point in time in our life we hadn't done before. And we didn't know what it felt like. And maybe we were a little reserved to come up and talk to a cat-sailing guy in the airport or whatever it may be. But then you did it, and something magical happened. Something magical happened because you got out of your comfort zone and you tried something new. Now, it's my belief that nobody can be you better than who? You. I'm not asking anybody in this room to be somebody that they're not, but what I am asking you to do is find your limit and move past it. Because if you put a new spin on things, you stretch yourself, you might find that you have a lot more joy to give. And most importantly, you got a lot more joy in your heart for yourself. Because when you feel good, the people around you start to feel a whole lot better. Would you guys agree or disagree? I'm saying a lot of stuff up here. I hope you guys are listening. You guys ever notice that you're not listening, June? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But what I said that again?
June is.
June is, but Lloyd's not. You ever notice that when you're talking to somebody, you'll be in the midst of a conversation and their lip starts to quiver a little bit? They get that quiver lip. You know what they want to do? When you're talking to somebody and their lip starts to move, you know what they want to do? They want to talk. They want to talk. And when they're talking, they're no longer doing what? Listen, right? You've lost them. Because whatever you've said has generated a thought, and they want to say something. See, I find that when we listen with intent and with purpose and with power, and we're present in discussion, then oftentimes, as Santa, you never have to sell a new value proposition. You don't have to take on a persona or get in your character, because all you're doing is you're playing back what you hear all these people love, that they're literally telling you if you're present. And you're not thinking about, oh, well, there's a line of kids, there's 50 more, I got to get to them, right? And I'm not saying that time isn't a challenge. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying, how do we maximize that short time frame that we have with these children? Now, some of the things that these kids go through when we talk about compassion fatigue, it's very heavy. It's hard to deal with. There's a whole number of books back there talking about losing a loved one, or a family member that goes off to serve. And sometimes that's challenging for us to deal with and cope with. And we ask questions consistently about these kids' families. And sometimes when we ask these questions, they generate what type of thoughts? Negative. Negative. So if we know that, sometimes it's beneficial to protect ourselves. One of the things that I ask my daughter before I go to bed every single night is, what's the best thing that's happened to you today? Now, she's 6 years old. Her name is Adeline Grace. When I ask her what's the best thing that's happened to her today, what does it force her to think about? Something what? Positive and good. The same reason why I like to start my sessions with what's good. Instead of saying, hey, how's it going? Because how's it going could be like, well, not so well. Thanks for asking. But when I say what's good, it's making the assumption that something in your life today is at least somewhat good. 100%. So when I ask my daughter what's the best thing that's happened to you today, sometimes she struggles. She's 6. She says, I don't know. Laying with you, Dad? Then that's the best thing that's happened to me today. But she's 6 now and she's in 1st grade. So now the bulk of it is recess, love recess. The bulk of your answers are going to be sitting here on your lap, Santa. But when you ask children as a question, instead of talking to them about mom or dad or whatever it may be, and one of the first questions you ask them as they're sitting on your lap, and you ask them a question like, hello there, what's your name? Stephanie? Stephanie, what's the best thing that's happened to you today? It forces them to think about something grand. And it puts you in a position to really drive home a memory. A memory that says you matter and great things are happening. Because at these critical ages right now, they're sponges.
Yes.
We have the ability, you have the ability in these short, especially you guys. You are icons to these children. And so in this short period of time, you have the ability to drive home a memory that could potentially change their existence as a child. Just by 1 or 2 questions. But you got to be listening with intent. You got to stretch yourself. I believe music is powerful. So powerful that I believe you can find whatever song you want to feel to drive home a certain emotion. If you want to laugh, you can find a song. You want to smile, you can find a song. You want to cry, you can find a song. Music is powerful. How many of you guys enjoy, or ladies enjoy, singing in the shower or in the comfort of your home or in your car? How many of you? Okay. I said anybody. Half.
You said lady, right?
So half of us do, half of us do. How many of those that raised your hand would also get up right now in front of this group and sing?
Well, I ain't raised my hand.
But you would do that.
I can sing that I can tell you.
Say that again.
If I could sing a song that I compose.
100%. You can say whatever the heck you want to. What do you got to tell me, sir?
Well, I want to give some advice. So for those who sing in the shower, never record yourself in the shower.
Why is that?
I did that. You sound so good. And I was singing the Monkees song, you know.
Yes.
When I saw your face.
Yes?
I was singing that thing. I had that up, put on top of the door of the shower. The water wasn't running. I was smart enough to do that.
Right.
And I played that back, and it broke my heart. I have never sung in the shower since then. Now when I sing, I don't worry about sounding good.
Beautiful. That's the key.
This is like a song, sing a song, sing out loud, make it strong. Don't worry about it, that's not good enough for anybody else to hear. Just sing a song.
Yes, that's it. That's the key. That is the key. When you get out of your head and stop worrying about what everybody thinks of you, something magical happens. One of my favorite Christmas movies is Elf, right? You know my favorite part is Santa! Right, that is an amazing
Well,
part.
I got grandkids. Oh my God.
So you know this regularly. You know my favorite part of Elf is? Like, I love laughter. Every part that Will Ferrell's in is comedic. It's fun to me. But my favorite part of the movie Elf is when Santa's sleigh doesn't have enough spirit, right? And then the boy gets up and he's got the book and he starts singing. And then he gets the whole New York Square singing, right? And then his dad starts singing. The Bah Humbug guy, he starts singing. He couldn't sing. Half of them couldn't sing. But it just was an amazing moment that brought me to tears. And I can't help but think about what you guys do. Do you guys sing? Do you come in and sing?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do? So that's phenomenal, because that is another differentiator. We have a 3 and a 6-year-old. I've never experienced John. I've never experienced one Santa that sang, either in a group or as we were with them or whatever it may be. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but what I do know is that all of a sudden Santa walked in and he says, "I hear those sleigh bells ringling, jing, jing, jingling too. I said, what lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you." Man, that would be an impactful moment. Oh, I'm not a good singer. You don't have to clap for me. Well, thank you. But what I found is, do they can't hear it? So warn them next time I'm going to sing, right? Warn them. So I'll ask that question too. I just did the Kansas SHRM, Society of HR Professionals or Managers, in Kansas City, the convention center, Overland Park. There was 500 individuals in the room. I said, how many of you guys enjoy singing? And I would say over 3/4 of them raised their hand. And then I said, how many of you would sing right now in front of everybody? And there was like 5 left that kept their hand up. Now my message to them is the same to you. My message to them was, I respect what you guys do a great deal, but there is nobody in this room that I will allow the power over me to steal something that gives me joy. What I mean by that is if I woke up and I feel like singing, then gosh dang it, I'm a singer today. And I live it every single day. Take, for example, I was in Austin, Texas recently. I was driving down the street in my rental car, and I was raised on Motown music. My mother woke me up every Saturday morning vacuuming and listening to all the greats, the Commodores, Lionel Richie, even back further than Marvin Gaye. I mean, Motown was what we grew up to. And so I'm driving down to Austin, Texas. I turn on the radio, and the Queen, Miss Tina Turner, comes on. And I get lost in the music. You guys have been there, you're driving down the road, and you, well, what's love got to do with it? Got to do with it? And I'm singing and I'm dancing and I'm acting a fool because that's me, and I don't know any other version of me. So I get to a red light. And have you ever been in that situation where you just feel somebody peering at you? You know what I mean? You're like, I'm not going to look over there. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction. I know they're judging me. Longest light of all time. I finally work up the courage to turn over there, and this lady in the driver's seat, she goes like this. And I don't know what this means. time that the chorus comes on in that song again. And do you know what she does? What's love got to do with it? See, there's so many people on our earth that refrain from doing the things that they love because they're fearful of what others are going to think, say, or do. But in this situation, here you have this lady that was looking to connect with a complete stranger at the same level. And all it took was being the authentic version of ourselves and getting out of our heads. See, listening with intent is powerful. I like to start each song with music, or each day with music. A good song, shower, whatever it may be. One of my favorite songs right now is called Best Day Ever. It is a hip-hop song, so if you're not into that, then that's okay. But what I will say is this chorus is amazing. He says, no matter where life takes me, you'll find me with a smile. Pursue to be happy, only laughing like a child. I never thought life could be this sweet. It's got me cheesing from cheek to cheek. And I'm not going to wait for nothing, because that just ain't my style. Life couldn't get better. This gonna be the best day ever. Now when I start every single day with that song, Best Day Ever, what goes through my head? What do you think I do?
You smile.
I smile. I'm happy. I get strong. I get strength. It's called foreshadowing. Now I'm like, you're darn right it's going to be the best day ever because I'm in control of that. And that's the power that music holds over us. That's a fundamental. Listening to music with intent. We're listening with intent. People are talking, are you listening? See, we got to think bigger, ladies and gentlemen, because there's a lot of things going on. If you do think bigger like you guys do every single day, you might find yourself in a situation that I found myself. So, you're really going to love this story then. Because if your grandson is half the kid that this young boy is, which I'm sure he is, he's going to change your life more than he already has. This young man is a boy by the name of Noah Wilson. Noah Wilson, at the age of 6, was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer called Ewing sarcoma. And as many of these children do, you guys know better than anybody, oftentimes these kids don't have anything to compare their strife to. So while they're going through and dealing with some of the most challenging things in their life, they're still smiling and they're still showering others with compliments and laughing and having a good time. Sure, they have their bad days, but by and large, they're far better at handling that strife than we as adults are. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
So this kid, when he was diagnosed, I mean, he was still showing a genuine interest in others. He was still on YouTube doing trick Nerf shots with basketballs. One day he's getting treated, poked and prodded, extended hospital stays, terrible medicine. You guys know the drill. He looks down at his arm one day, he's getting an IV from a nurse. He says to her, he says, "Ma'am, do you have any fun bandages? This brown bandage is not going to cut it." He says, "Do you have any Marvel Avenger bandages?" She says, "No, I'm sorry, we do not." So this 6-year-old boy looks this nurse dead into the windows of her soul and says, "Well, you're about to, sister." And he went home that night and he got a bucket. And he put a sign on it that says, "Please donate fun bandages to kids at Children's Mercy Hospital." Spelled all incorrectly because he was 6. But it was magnificent. So his parents take that bucket with the sign on it, they put it on his front porch, and they take a picture of it and put it on Facebook. The picture goes viral. Now, kids all over the Kansas City metro area are doing bandage drives for Noah Wilson and his bandage project. Now, the year is 2014. The Kansas City Royals haven't been to the playoffs in 29 years. But they're having the highest attendance on record this year, right, John? Saw you out there, buddy. Saw your son out there, too.
We were there.
I know. We still got the receipts, right? I'm still paying off the debt. But ultimately, the Royals got really smart. They heard this story. They knew that Noah was a big fan, and so they started doing bandage drives. And if you ever go out to see any video of the Royals winning the World Series in 2014 and 2015, winning in 2015, going in 2014, Eric Hosmer, Danny Duffy, Mike Moustakis, they're all wearing these Team Noah bracelets. See, Danny Duffy, we just got the opportunity to go down to the field just a couple of weeks ago, and Danny Duffy actually donated $110,000 to Noah's bandage project.
Wow.
This kid inspired a baseball team to a World Series. He inspired me to chase my dreams of being a speaker. But most importantly, this kid changed the way that hospitals order supplies at the age of 6. What were you doing at the age of 6? I can't tell you what I was doing at the age of 6, but I can tell you what I was doing at the age of 33, and I'm not super proud of it. So John told you a story of where we connected, but my best friend in the whole entire world is a gentleman by the name of John Stoner. Again, John Stoner for context. He's been in my life since the 5th grade. He calls me excitedly one day and he says, "Dude, did you realize that they make wrestling singlets with cat profile pics on them?" I said, "John, how could I possibly know that?" He said, "Good point, Paul. I bought 2. I said, "What the heck are we going to do with those, John?" He says, "I don't know, but it's going to be awesome." 2 weeks later, I got the call. He said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out to the K, Kauffman Stadium. We're going to wear these wrestling singlets with cat profile pics on them. Derek Jeter's retiring from baseball. And all these stadiums across the nation are doing these silly send-offs. Whether it's a song or a nice sign or a gift basket, here's what we're going to do, Paul. We're going to actually wear these singlets out there. We're going to come up with all these cat hunt signs. Signs that read things like, Derek Jeter, one classy cat. Pursuit of the World Series. And my favorite, a strike him out, ride me out. We called ourselves the designated litter. Yeah, right? So we go out to the stadium and chaos ensues. Chaos. I mean, we take over 150 photos day 1. It was as though Santa was there. Am I right, John? The Royals go on a 10-game winning streak. And people are attributing their success to these crazy cats because everybody's superstitious. The catsuit guys are going, right? People actually created a GoFundMe account to send us to all the World Series games. We didn't take that money, I would feel horrible. But what I know is, for one reason or the other, people gravitated towards us. We went on live TV the next day. We had a full-page article in the Wall Street Journal. The editor of the Wall Street Journal called my wife and asked her what it's like living with one of these crazy catsuit guys. Derek Jeter mentions us by name. We got in the Washington Post, Yahoo Sports. It was nuts. This showman runs up to me one day and says, "How do you do it, Paul? How do you do it?" I said, "How do I do what?" He says, "How do you dress up like this with a wrestling singlet, cat profile pic on it, kibbles and bits hanging out for the whole world to see?" I told him, I said, "Sir, somebody once told me don't worry about what people think about you, because they don't think about you." Now that's such an impactful quote and mantra in my life. I want to say it to you again. Don't worry about what people think about you, because they don't think about you. See, we get so wrapped up in our head about our interactions with others. And we every single detail, we think about it. Did I mess it up? Did I say it? Did they get the message? The truth of the matter is, nobody's thinking about what you said and how you said it as much as who? You. So be you. Have fun. Be the authentic version of yourself. Live in character. And whatever comes to you in the moment, be that. Because if you're being the best version of yourself, then people are going to want to be around you. That's what this boy did for me. See, I learned through a mutual contact that Scott Wilson was a friend of somebody on Facebook. So we had a mutual friend. And I reached out to him and I said, "Scott, I got to meet your boy. He's a real life hero." He said, "Paul, isn't this a coincidence? My son looks up to you." I said, "Well, how does your son know me, Scott?" He says, "Well, you're one of the catsuit guys, right?" I said, "Indeed I am." Now, I'm sure that you guys have felt this way. I was excited at first to meet my hero, but after I got off the phone, I was overcome with fear. I was overcome with fear because I'm a father. And I thought to myself, what if I go in this room and I see this beautiful little baby boy and his bald head, and all I could see in the reflection of his face is my children? How do I respond then? What if he feels that vibe and that energy? Who am I to believe that little old me can lift him up, if not only 15 or 30 seconds, and get him to a place where he's no longer thinking about the stuff that tears him down, but rather the stuff that lifts him up? So I take that negative energy into the room. And I walk up to Scott, I look over at his son Noah, and I see he's tired and exhausted. And I say, "Scott, how many guests has your son had today?" He said, "Paul, you're the 6th guest. We've had 5. I look over him, I see how exhausted he is. I said, "Scott, maybe I should come back another day. He looks really tired." Scott said, "You get your butt over there and go talk to my boy. He's been looking forward to this moment all day long." So I swallow my pride, work up the courage to go, and I sit down next to him. I sit on his bedside and I said, "Hey, buddy, how about those Kansas City Royals?" And he smiles just like you do, sir. I'm going to give you the same thing that everybody in this room does.
No special.
Why'd you have to buy books for everybody? So I ask him about the Royals and he smiles a little bit. And then I say, "Hey, Noah, what do you think about these Yahoos and the wrestling singlets?" And he chuckles. And then I say, "Hey, I understand that you're a huge Marvel Avenger fan. Who is your favorite character?" And I reach into my bag and I give him this customized Hulk bow tie because he's the strongest kid that I've ever met in my life. And in this moment, he's cheesing from cheek to cheek. You see, he's no longer thinking about what? His cancer. And that's the power that you have every single day. If you're asking the right questions. If you're focusing on the things that lift others up instead of the things that tear them down. See, it's easy to get in the mode and start thinking or talking about the things that aren't working. But these kids look to you to lift them up, to feel that empathy and to know how to move them forward. Because some of them might not even be here tomorrow. So you have the opportunity to provide them a memory that lasts them a lifetime. Noah changed my life. Now, as I'm wrapping up this trip, such an impactful moment. I became friends with this young boy. I was invited to watch him play baseball. He was still on chemotherapy. It was his last treatment. He hadn't played in 2 years. I got the opportunity to go watch him play baseball. It was one of the most impactful moments of my life. See, the first time he gets up, he swings and he misses. Does it again, does it again. Walks back to the dugout. He's dejected. I mean, he's been waiting for this moment for 2 years. Just grief-stricken. His dad, Scott, comes over to him. He says, "Hey, buddy, it's gonna..." "Stop, Dad. Stop." Doesn't want to hear it. I walk over, I try to motivate him. "It's going to be all right, no, you'll get it next time." He doesn't want to hear it. He gets up the next time. He has a seeing eye single. He gets straight up to the pitcher, runs to first. And seeing that boy run to first, and the pain on his face to see him get there, but complimented by the joy on his face of getting there, was a moment that forever changed my life. Now, as I'm leaving that hospital room, I'm reflecting in the car, thinking about what happened, thinking about my interaction, and my phone buzzes. It's a text message, and this was it.
Go Royals! Thanks, Papa. See you soon.
Now, one thing you might not have been able to see in that video is he was hooked up to an IV. And he was waving his rally towel, and he had the little bow tie on. And he said, "Go Royals, thanks cats, you guys are coming. See you real soon." When I went into that room, that boy was tired. He was exhausted. To see him up, just to do that for me, and I get mad and I complain when I hit every red light. And this young boy takes it upon himself, I'm sure with a little help of his father, to get up and show his thanks and appreciation for somebody else. It's one of my most prized possessions. That boy took it upon himself to say thanks to little old me. I realized in that moment that we had something in common. We both connect to life through fun. And fun to me is not just a word, it's an acronym. The F stands for foundation. What's the F stand for? Foundation. This is everything that makes you you. Your moral compass, your personal values, whatever your mission statement is, whatever you live by, your personality style, what's your personal foundation? Are you a victim or are you a victor? You know what the difference between a victim and a victor is? Short-term memory. That's it. That is it. We have that. And you have to. And here's why I say that, because everybody in the room said, "Yeah, I've had a bad day." Everybody's had a bad day. The question is, what do you do to get through them when they happen, and how long do you let those bad days weigh on your shoulders? Because whether you're a victim or a victor, believe me, you're going to feel the opposite end of the spectrum. It's just how long are you going to stay there. See, in your foundation, if you're more present and deliberate with the things around you and the things that you do, then the stuff that's not working is going to be less critical in your life. If you're present and deliberate in things that give you strength, well then you'll find yourself smiling and appreciating a lot more people and a lot more children and what you do and the joys and the fun and the smiles that you create. But it starts with having purpose and allowing that purpose to manifest itself in every single thing that you do. I'm guessing that all of you do what you do for a very specific reason. To validate or fulfill a purpose inside you to help others or make others smile or make yourself smile, whatever it is, you believe that's your purpose. And it is. And it's manifesting itself in every single thing that you do. See, my purpose manifests itself in everything that I do every single day. I believe that my purpose in this world is to reveal the opportunity that others have to have just a little more fun in life. And it's validated every single day. See, I check in every now and again. I'll ask my daughter. I'll say, hey baby, describe your daddy in 3 words. I challenge you guys to do this exercise as well. But you got to do a little homework first. Describe yourself in 3 words. Describe yourself in 3 words. Write them down. Identify how you would describe yourself to a complete stranger in 3 words. And then go out and ask 5 to 7 people how they would describe you in 3 words. And what you're going to find is as you look at these 2 lists, you're going to say, oh, well, there's continuity in these things. There's bleed over. I think that I'm pretty humorous and fun, and this person says that I'm fun as well. Maybe I'm living life with purpose. You may look at this list and say, I was way off. And if that's the case, it doesn't matter. It still forces you to think. Because in this moment, what I know is there's 2 people in this world. There's the person that we are, and the person that we reveal ourselves to be. And oftentimes, we're not always present in how we see ourselves. This is a perfect opportunity for you to see how others see you. So my daughter asked her recently, hey, describe your daddy in 3 words. She says, Daddy, you're fun, you're silly, and you're kind. My daughter at the age of 6 can describe me as that. I could die a happy man. But I'm certain, John, over the years that we've connected, you'd probably describe me as somewhat similar. Because I'm consistent. What's your purpose? How does it manifest itself? How would others describe you? That's your personal foundation. Moving on to the you. You know, John talked about empathy and the importance that it plays in driving strong connections and love and just trust and experience. This is the you, understanding others' perspectives. We're all different in this world. Science dictates it. People have oftentimes put definitions associated with these differences. One of which is a gentleman by the name of Richard Stepp. He created a personality assessment. Have any of you guys ever taken a personality assessment, like a Myers-Briggs? This guy did something really fun. What he did is he associated bird styles with personality types. He called it dope. Again, he called it dope, right? The D stands for dove, the O is the owl, the P is the peacock, and the E is the eagle. When you think of doves, you think of what? Peace, love, emotion. Doves are individuals that will sacrifice their happiness to make sure that everybody else is good. They're always asking you, are you comfortable? Do you need anything? Can I get you a cookie? Is the temperature good in here? Right? As such, they're very, very warm, but they move somewhat slow because they're always worried about everybody else, right? The O is the owl. They're known for being what? Wise, structured, detail-oriented. These are individuals that move typically pretty slow because they're always weighing the pros and the cons and the what-ifs, right? And they're also somewhat cold at times, not with ill intent. It's just that they reside in their heads so much that oftentimes they come across as socially not present, right? The P is the peacock, and you gotta let us fly.
We're all peacocks.
We're all peacocks, that's right. Peacocks are known for being the center of attention, the lighthearted nature individuals, the ones that bring the joy and the fun and the fulfillment. As such, we move very, very fast and are somewhat warm. We struggle in detail. I struggle in detail. I get lost in logistics. The E is the eagle, the natural-born leader, the individual that you will follow into battle because they typically got a plan, and they'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. As such, they move very, very fast. And like the owl, they're somewhat cold. Not with ill intent. It's just that they have a desired outcome in mind, and they don't have time for everybody's feelings. As you guys are listening to this, you're trying to identify what you are, and most of you are peacocks, right? But just because you have a primary doesn't mean that you can't have a secondary. I myself am a peagle. Thanks for asking. Peagle. That's right. But see, it's not about us here, because this is the you, understanding others' perspectives. We all hold the golden rule, which is treat others as you prefer to be what? Treated. That's counterintuitive though when it comes to communication. See, you don't communicate to others as you prefer to communicate with them. You alter your style to meet them where they are. If you ever had an interaction with somebody and you walk away and you say, man, what crawled up their rear end? Oftentimes you reflect on that interaction and you think, oh, I don't like their personality. Or, oh, they had a bad day, right? Well, what I find is if you walk through life a little more curious than you are furious, then things change. Your perspective changes. Take, for example, you start asking yourself, I wonder what bird style they are. You see, maybe you were communicating to them as a peacock, and you were up here, and you were full-on Santa character, and they just weren't feeling it. You see, because they're an owl, and they want to know, what are your intentions? What is the agenda for this meeting today? What do you want to get out of this interaction? And see, you walk away and you say, I just don't get it, we didn't connect. Clearly, we're not a good match. If you just altered your style a little bit to meet them where they were, then you would have walked away with a completely different interaction. You see, if you're more curious and you ask those questions and you say, I wonder what they're going through, or a truly honest individual will take a look in the mirror and say, I wonder what I'm going through right now to allow me to see this person this way. Because they say the worst that we see in other people can actually just be a reflection of the worst in who? Ourselves. See, being more curious than you are furious. Take, for example, I mentioned getting stopped by every red light, right? You ever been late or you're headed somewhere and it's just like, oh, big brother again watching me, right? Who's controlling the red lights? Have you ever been at a red light and you have a car in front of you and you see this phenomenon where somebody backs up their car 6 inches and they pull forward a little bit? Have you ever seen this? That's you? You know, so what are they trying to do?
Get in the strip.
Trying to get in the strip, trying to change the light, right? Trying to change the light. Because some lights are motion detected. You see, furious individuals get stopped by a red light, say, here we go again. And curious individuals believe that we have the power to change our lives. So, if you have just the opportunity to walk through life a little more curious than you are furious, then you'll find that bad situations, they don't find you as much. Or at least you aren't as hypersensitive to them. But it all starts with showing a genuine interest in others, expressing a kindness and a genuine interest. Now, I gave an example of this earlier. Instead of asking questions like work, weather, and family, you might ask a question like, what's the best thing that's happened to you today? If you're talking to a friend or a family member, maybe instead of saying, how was your day? You say, hey, what's the best concert you ever went to? What's the best vacation you ever went on? What's the most memorable experience you ever had as Santa Claus? If you could sit down with anybody over the course of history, who would it be? What's the best joke that you've heard? Hey, when was the last time you had a gut-busting laughter? All of these questions are forcing you to think about what? Things that make you smile. So finding out what those questions are for your family, for your friends, for these kids that you interact with, they could be these make or break memorable moments. Now you are all walking away with a book. I have like 30 or 40 of these questions in that book. I also have 110 fundamentals to drive more fun in your life. Nobody can define your fun for you. There's millions of them out there. I don't have the answers. I just know what's worked for me and what others have shared in the past. But what I know is if you live life giving others and getting out of this rut of focusing on the same thing that everybody else is, showing genuine interest in others, then good things happen. People tell me sometimes before I go on stage, they'll say, hey, good luck. Good luck up there. Break a leg. I'll say, I don't believe in luck. I believe in energy. See, I can assure you 2 things are going to happen every single time I come up and I speak to a group. I'm going to laugh at all of my jokes, and I'm going to have the best time. If that's the expectation, then I can't fail. Those are the expectations. I can't fail. And whether you want to come with me or not is really on you. I'm going to invite you. But if you don't, I'm still going to be the authentic version of myself. And I'm going to rest easy when I go home at night because I know that I presented me. But mainly, the best version of me is when I showcase the strengths of everybody else. When I get out of the frickin' limelight and I allow everybody else to be in the limelight. And that's what you have the opportunity to be and do as Santa. So I'm walking through the streets of Kansas City recently down at 18th and Vine. It's amazing who you can meet and what you can learn about people if you ask the right questions, like this young lady that I met 15 minutes prior to shooting this video. Chickadee check. Microphone back on the room and right. Just here to back up moonshine. Listen, we're doing well. Chickadee check. Microphone check on the room and rhyme record. Rhymes from here to back up moonshine. This is Paul Long out here with Fundamism. Of course, Fundamism was a deliberate approach to happiness. I'm here with Miss Donna Powell, standing outside the beautiful Jazz Museum at 18th and Vine. So, Miss Donna, I'm from Boston. Miss Donna, what do you do that gives you happiness? What gives you strength?
My faith,
Tell me a little bit about it.
my trust and belief in God, waking up every morning and being grateful that I woke up and acting like it for the rest of the whole day.
Now, you said acting like it for the rest of the whole day. One of the things I know about you is you love to sing. So give me your greeting when folks walk in the door here at the museum.
Welcome to 18th and Vine. I guarantee you're gonna have a good time. Here's fancy food and drinking and wine. So welcome to 18th and Vine. Woo!
That's Miss Donna Powell and Paul Long with Fundamism, encouraging you to be more deliberate in your approach to happiness.
Absolutely.
Go right there. That's a video right there, sister. We all have amazing stories. We have amazing things that have happened to us. Bless you. We have people that we've met in this world. We have amazing gifts to share. Everybody has this treasure inside them if you ask the right questions. I met this lady 15 minutes prior to shooting this video. Imagine all the amazing stories or whatever if you ask these children and their family members things that lift them up. You might be intrigued by what you find. Moving on to the in and fun, because without the in and fun, it's just that view. That's what you have. Embrace a victor's mentality. The only difference between a victim and a victor is short-term memory. It starts with living with purpose, allowing that purpose to manifest itself in every single thing that you do. Showing a genuine interest in others by asking questions that not everybody else is asking. And please, for the love of whatever you believe in, gravitate more towards the things that lift you up as opposed to the things that you don't. So what does that mean? It means that if you're struggling, if you're having a bad day, and you don't want to get off the couch, force yourself to get off the couch. Because when you force yourself to get off the couch and do something that makes you smile, your day immediately gets better. Now, just for being here today, John, you had introduced Noah's Bandage Project. This boy changed my life. This boy changed my life because no matter what he was going through, he was always lifting up other people. And you had mentioned, I don't know if it was a book or a story that you told me, but you were talking about if I could take on your sickness for one day. I never forget that. Reminded me of the story where Deb Wilson, mother of Noah, was looking at him one day and he was just having a really, really bad day. This boy is 6 years old. Deb looks at her son and says, Noah, if I could take what you have, I would. And the 6-year-old boy looks at his mom and says, no, Mom, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I got this. Now, Noah lost his battle with death, as we all will. But he won his battle with life. And the interesting thing about Noah is he always knew. Like after his passing, they were cleaning out his room and they moved a dresser. And behind the dresser was a little card, a little picture that Noah made. And on the picture was Deb, Scott, Kaylee, Connor, Natalie, his siblings. but Noah was nowhere to be found. If you look a little bit higher on the photo, what you see is an angel holding on to Noah. This kid at 6 years old drew this, foreshadowing. You see, he always knew what his story was going to end as. But what he didn't know is that his legacy would blow up far beyond any child would ever think, any individual would ever think. You see, this kid, in his name, he's effectively raised over 2 million individual bandages to kids going through the struggle and $1 million in pediatric cancer research at Children's Mercy. This 6-year-old boy created that. Now, as the president of the board, a lot of what I do, a portion of every book that I sell, goes back to Noah's Bandage Project, because this kid changed my life. And just by being here today and doing a little bandage drive and getting the book and having me as a speaker, you guys are now effectively part of Noah's Bandage Project, and this is what you guys have become a part of.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me that I call my own.
2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to meet Noah at Decay. Eric Hosmer introduced me to him and his wonderful family, and I've been really blessed to be able to be a part of Noah's Bandage Project. I didn't know that at the time, 43 kids in the US, just like Noah, would be diagnosed that day and every day with cancer. I also didn't know that 6 children would lose their lives from this disease every single day. My name is Danny Duffy. I'm a pitcher for the Kansas City Royals, and I'm teaming up with Noah's Bandage Project to help fund research for pediatric cancer. It's really bothersome that 4% of all federal research funding goes to pediatric cancer, and we're going to be the change that we want to see. I think that kids should be given hope, and they should have that fighting chance. Noah's Bandage Project is leading the way in funding targeted pediatric cancer research, which will help reduce side effects and ultimately bring cures for childhood cancer.
Well, when I first started going to the hospital and everything, I used to get a lot of pokes and everything, and all I got were like bad band-aids. And I didn't like bad band-aids, so I decided to start a bandage project. So then we put it on Facebook, and then it just gone viral. So
if one patient can have an idea that can then impact the hospital's buying policy, and can impact our supply chain, well, here's an example of a kid who changed the way we do business and changed the way that other kids are receiving care because he had an idea.
I never knew this, but they gave like band-aids that I didn't know. So they gave like macaroni and cheese band-aids, bacon band-aids, pickle band-aids, Abraham Lincoln band-aids, mustache band-aids, kiss band-aids, all those different kinds.
Hey guys, I'm Danny Duffy with the Kansas City Royals.
Hey, it's Eric Stone Street from Modern Family.
Hi, I'm Cassie Joy from The Voice on Team Blake.
Anyway, thank you for supporting Noah's Bandage Project.
So that's my guy, Mr. Noah Wilson. I'm sure his story runs very parallel to some of the stories of the young kids that you've met throughout your days in the role that you play. As I've played this video or done a similar presentation multiple times throughout the years, people always ask me, why do you close with that video? And the answer is very deliberate. See, we had 2 goals tonight. The first thing we wanted to do is we wanted to have a little bit of fun. Hopefully you guys have a little bit. The second thing we wanted to do is we wanted to leave you guys with some relevant information, things that you could take back to to your daily lives, whether it's in your role as Santa or in your personal life, to bring a little more fun, joy, and fulfillment. Whether it's putting a new spin on things that you already do, maybe it's showcasing a more genuine interest by being more creative with the questions that you ask. Or maybe it's just being more thankful for the things that you have as opposed to the things that you don't. You see, one thing that I noticed about that video is every single one of those children is going through the struggle. And there was a one picture or video that was playing that didn't feature a child's smile. So no matter what you're going through in life, realize that somebody's always got it worse than you. And quite honestly, they're handling it a whole lot better. From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to say thank you for the work that you guys do. My children look up to you, and so do I. Have a wonderful night, and I'm here to ask any questions. I believe you want to do potentially a Q&A, John. I don't know what you could possibly ask me, but you're more than welcome.
I got lots of things I could ask.
All right. So I know, John, you've got books for everybody. If you want a signed copy, I have a bunch of those. I can sign the rest of them. They're in that box over there. Everybody walks away with a book. But I am here to ask questions or have conversations with. We're here until 9 o'clock.
Does anybody have anything they would like to ask Paul about?
Very great. You know, there's a lot of negativity in this world. And how is it that we can change the world from going negativity? Because everybody you see out there on the street is all negative.
Sure.
How can you change that within a split second to make it positive for the future?
Sure. Well, great question, first of all. And I saw you start taking a lot of notes. That's the best thing that you could possibly do for somebody like me. That means a lot. Thank you. What's your name?
Daryl.
Daryl Paul Long. I would like to give you a really magnificent magic bullet answer to that question. The simplest answer I can come up with is one interaction at a time. Because you never know what somebody else is going through. And it's easy to judge them. It's easy. My brother suffers significantly from anxiety and depression. He is one of those negative Nellies all the time. So when I talked to him on the phone, I asked him recently the same question that I asked my daughter. What's the best thing that's happened to you today? And he pauses. And he says, well, actually, Paul, it's been a pretty crappy day. Nothing great has happened to me today. I said, well, Chris, that kind of sucks, man. I got to tell you, we haven't talked on the phone for quite a long time. This is a pretty amazing experience for me. He goes, you know what? That's what it is, Paul. That's the best thing that's happened to me today. So just those little things and reminding them that there is goodness happening. The truth of the matter is, in my experience, there's not a lot of people that have had others in life say, I believe in you. Especially the older we get. You know, Tom Brady, regardless of how you feel about sports or the Patriots or whoever it may be, I hate Tom Brady, who is the greatest quarterback ever. And the reason why, I'm a Chiefs fan through and through. I'm just a Kansas City guy through and through. And so this gentleman has been to 9 Super Bowls and he's won 6 of them. Super Bowl MVP, league MVP. I mean, this guy, he's been showered with appreciation and love throughout his days. So 2 years ago, he was asked in minicamp, he said, hey, do you feel like the New England Patriots recognize you and appreciate you for enough, like all that you've done for their organization? His response was, no comment. No comment. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. All of these awards, he says no comment. Now he goes on to say a very PC thing. He says, listen, if you ask anybody in this world today, corporate America, in my field, family member, whoever it may be, he says, I don't believe that anybody on this earth gets enough appreciation for what they do. So if you were to ask me whether I feel appreciated enough, I would say, just as most people in this world would say, no. Does it mean that I don't respect my leadership team or I don't respect this organization? It does not mean that. It just means that I believe that everybody on this planet can afford to get a little more appreciation. So my answer is, one interaction at a time, give more love than you give hate. Whether that means that you share a kind word to a stranger or you ask them a really meaningful and impactful question that stops them in their tracks and forces them to think. Those are the things that I found that have worked for me. And be the authentic version of yourself.
And just a quick follow-up.
That mic's not on, is it?
Doesn't matter.
Just a quick follow-up, Daryl. Go back to what story I told earlier about the star thrower. Made a difference to that one.
That's right.
You never know.
100%. Never know.
When somebody asks you, how are you today? Terribly good. What's good in your life?
I love that.
It really sets you back.
Yes.
Puts you on top of it.
So one of my favorite speakers, he passed years ago, but he's the whole reason why I got into this business. I saw him when I was in my 20s. I didn't even know it was a job. I saw him and I knew I wanted to be something like that, but I didn't know that it was a possibility. His name was Keith Harrell, and they called him Mr. Super Fantastic. And so his thing was attitude is everything. Check out some of his YouTube videos if you're into this type of thing. But he'd always tell me, how are you? I'm super fantastic. Because when you say super fantastic, it forces you to smile. But over time, what he did is he started to develop these sayings. Like, if I was a dog, I'd be wagging my tail. If I was doing any better, there'd be two of me, right? So he'd come up with all these phrases that would change the way that people responded. I used to work in a call center, Farmers Insurance. I'd answer the phone, and I'd say, it's a magnificent Monday here at Farmers Insurance. How can I make your day magnificent too? And some people would laugh. Some people would say, well, I'm glad that you're having a good day, because I'm certainly not, right? Truth be told, those are the individuals that I would rather talk to, Daryl. Those are what you're talking about, right? Because when I hit it with one of these, you know, Daryl, it's sad to me to hear that you're having such a terrible day. I pride myself in my existence to lift people up a little closer to where I am after our interaction than when they started. How can I make your day just a little bit better? When I ended with one of that, it was difficult to stay mad. And what they typically wrap up say, it's not you I'm mad at, it's the situation, right? And that's a win. You got him out of that moment. I love that.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Does Noah's project have to be KC only?
No.
Nationwide.
What a phenomenal question. So it is whatever we want to make it. So we have done bandage drives. I have the luxury and feel eternally blessed to have the opportunity to speak all around the nation. So we've done bandage drives in Florida, in California, in Illinois. We just had McKesson Pharmaceutical. They actually did the largest bandage drive ever. They raised over 10,000 boxes. The Apartment Association of KC raised, actually, they were the largest. Their goal was 100,000 boxes. There's a Harry Potter crew. Do you guys know of this? It's a Harry Potter marathon crew. And they're all across the nation. They run marathons as characters from Harry Potter. And they all have these various sects of individuals. And so what they did is they actually challenged each other to do bandage drives. And so we got thousands of boxes. So if you find it in your heart to figure out a way to do a bandage drive wherever you're from or to get the word out, we would be eternally grateful.
Is there any other things we can do besides bandage drives?
So we raise money. One thing that we really need help doing is connecting us with individuals that can leverage the Band-Aids. So believe it or not, it sounds a lot easier than it is. Some hospitals can't accept donations, right? So we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of boxes. And when we get a hospital on the phone, sometimes people can't believe that they're getting something for free and no catch, right? And so I say, hey, I just want to give you a bunch of boxes of bandages in the honor or in this boy's name. And they can accept the bandages, but I can't get the right person on the phone. So there are 3 things that you can help us do. 4 things. Raise awareness just by spreading the message. You guys have your own message that you need to spread to them. So I don't want you to stress about that. 2, doing a bandage drive. Inviting kids that are coming to see you, bring boxes of bandages. They're cheap. 3, potentially find hospitals to connect us with that could actually take the bandages. And 4, we collect money. We collect money just as everybody does. So, noahsbandageproject.com if you want to learn more.
How much have you donated for children's pediatric cancer?
So we have a $1 million grant thus far, and our goal was to fulfill that $1 million grant in 5 years. We have been established for 2 thus far, and we are about $100,000 from fulfilling that grant, at least with money in the bank and money that we've given. So we're thinking about what's next. So it's pretty amazing. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
when I drive a tractor trailer.
Yes.
And I meet waitresses, cashiers, people at truck stops, and as he was saying, so how are you today? You know what I do? I don't know if this is on. I say, I am absolutely, positively, no doubt about it, fantastically wonderful. How are you? And I get smiles.
Yeah.
And then when I get done doing business with a cashier or a waitress, and the transaction's over, and they're ready, I go, happy birthday. You will be surprised. It was last week, it's next month, it is today.
Right.
Or my birthday's not until next July. I know it's not till July. But I just want to make you know that when it is your birthday, the damn good looking guy with the white beard is already telling you happy birthday.
I love it. I love it.
They can be, you can see them down in the mouth, you know? And when I say happy birthday, I go, it just cheers them up.
You know what I love about that? When you think about, so Daryl, why are individuals that are negative, where do they spend the bulk of their time? In their head, right? So the question really is, rather than how do we flip negativity to positivity, is how do we get individuals out of their head? How do we get to their heart? That's absolutely right. And the difference is just being something, making them feel special, and experiencing something they're not accustomed to, right? Unlike just receiving a book like everybody else did. Yes. So I go to Taco John's in South Dakota the other day. Taco John's has these little mini roll-ups. They're like Crispitos. All they are fried tortillas with ground beef in them. They're delicious. And with each order, you get sour cream. You get either a side of sour cream or a side of nacho cheese. So I go there the other day, and I order over the loudspeaker. I said, man, can I get 6 mini roll-ups, a meat and potato burrito combo with a Dr. Pepper to drink? And you know what, ma'am, that's not enough. Can I get 4 more mini roll-ups? She said, anything else, sir? I said, yes, ma'am. A churro! She says, sir, let me see if I got this back to you. We got 6 mini roll-ups, side of sour cream, side of nacho cheese. We got a meat and potato burrito combo with a Dr. Pepper to drink, 4 additional mini roll-ups, more sour cream, more nacho cheese, and a churro. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I meant a churro! Now I'm on cloud 9, right? This is the best thing that can happen to me. So I drive, this just happened last week, so I drive through to the window. It's probably a 16-year-old girl sitting there with her. And I said, man, you just made my day, thanks for that. She said, it wasn't me, it was her. I tried to look over there, I can't see her. She said, sir, can you pull up to the next window to get your food? I pull up to the next window to get my food. And another young lady reaches out. She says, sir, do you need anything else? I said, yes, ma'am, all the hot sauce. She looks at me and she goes, I wish. I don't know what that means. I don't know what I wish means, right? So we're sitting there and she says, sir, your food's not ready. If you pull up just a little bit, we're actually going to bring the food out to you. Well, I haven't had any closure on the amount of hot sauce that I'm going to get. So I said, ma'am, but seriously though, can I get a lot of hot sauce? She looks to her left like this out the window. She looks to the right. She whispers just like this. She says, I got you. So I get back to my hotel room, because I didn't check the food before I left because I'm an idiot. But I get back to my hotel room and I open up the bag, and it's super heavy, I notice. There are 40 bags of packets. And it dawned on me in that moment, I need to be a little more specific on the definition of a lot. But the reason why I tell that story is, how often do people come through that line and order their food? How often does somebody say, a churro, or absolutely, fantastically, whatever, amazing, you know? Those little things that you could do to get people out of whatever monotony, whatever headspace they're in, it matters. Last thing I'll give you. I'll go to a grocery store with my kids, and you know they have those, the automatic door openers?
I say open sesame.
Yes! Yes! Do you do open sesame?
I said, I'm just by myself.
You and I are kindred spirits, because I do something similar instead of, I go like this. I go, kids, I got this one, stand back. And I'll go, and so my kids, they've seen it a million times, but the people around me, they've never seen it. They're like, this guy is a bona fide crazy person. But I don't care, because it's an interruption into their day. Sorry.
With that, I have to say, we've got to be out of here in like 30 minutes. So Paul has a stack of books over here that if anybody would like them autographed, he's over here, he will sign them for you. And with that, I think we ought to give him a round of applause. I mentioned earlier that we were going to hit some emotional highs and lows. We had a little bit of both tonight, but we certainly had fun. And tomorrow morning we're starting at 9 with death, grief, and bereavement. So be prepared, folks. Remember your shirts tomorrow so we can do the pictures. And